RO plant could monitor itself. Live TDS, live water level, water temperature, wireless dashboard, home assistant integration, and the craziest part? I built the water level sensor completely from scratch using reed switches, magnets, and 3D printed parts. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to build this entire smart RO monitoring system using ESP32, VS Code, PlatformIO, and agentic coding, step by step. This water level sensor is completely custom made. Inside this 1-inch hollow pipe, there is a floating magnetic capsule. Inside the capsule, I placed strong magnets. As the water level changes, the magnetic capsule moves up and down inside the pipe. Outside the pipe, I attached 2 ladders of reed switches. One ladder contains odd-numbered switches. The second ladder contains even-numbered switches. When the magnetic float passes near a reed switch, it activates it magnetically. The ESP32 reads the analog voltage from both resistor ladders and decodes exactly which switches are active. Each reed switch produces a different voltage. The ESP32 compares those voltages with predefined reference values. The firmware decodes which reed switch is active and calculates water height, tank percentage, and water volume in liters. This gives us a very stable and accurate water level system without using ultrasonic sensors. Here are the components used in this project: ESP32 Dev Board, TDS Meter V1.0 module, waterproof DS18B20 sensor, SSD 1306 OLED display, custom reed sensor ladder, 3D printed magnetic float capsule, push button, resistors, jumper wires. So these are all the components we'll use to build our complete smart RO monitoring system. Now, let's start building the most important part of this entire project: the custom water level sensor. I originally tested ultrasonic sensors for water level measurement, but ultrasonic sensors have many problems: false readings, steam issues, foam issues, condensation, tank shape problems, water turbulence, and sometimes the readings become completely unstable. So instead, I designed this magnetic reed sensor system. Because the float moves physically with the water level, the readings become much more stable and reliable. The idea behind this sensor is actually very simple. Inside this PVC pipe, there is a floating magnetic capsule. As the water level rises, the capsule rises. As the water level drops, the capsule drops. Outside the pipe, I attached multiple reed switches vertically. Whenever the magnet inside the capsule passes near a reed switch, it activates it magnetically. This allows the ESP32 to detect the exact position of the water level. I took a 1-inch PVC pipe. Then I marked positions for all reed switches. The spacing between each reed switch determines the resolution of the water level measurement. Smaller spacing means more accurate level detection. Now, I'm carefully placing the reed switches on the marked positions. All switches must remain perfectly aligned vertically because the magnetic capsule moves straight up and down inside the pipe. If a reed switch is placed too far away from the pipe, the magnet may not activate it properly, so positioning is very important here. These reed switches are made from thin glass, so they are extremely delicate. While soldering, avoid applying heat for too long, otherwise the glass can crack internally. I recommend using a fine soldering tip and quick solder joints. Now, instead of connecting all reed switches directly, I created 2 separate resistor ladders. The first ladder contains SW1, SW3, SW5, SW7, SW9, and the second ladder contains SW2, SW4, SW6, SW8. This creates a dual ladder system. The ESP32 reads both ladders separately using 2 ADC pins. Using 2 ladders gives much smoother and more accurate water level detection. Now, let's understand how this entire sensor actually works electronically. This is the complete wiring diagram of the reed switch ladder system. At first, it may look complicated, but the working principle is actually very simple. The red wire at the top is our VCC supply rail. This powers the entire ladder network. As the magnetic float moves, different read switches connect different resistor paths to the output. Each white component here is a read switch. Normally, the read switch remains open, but when the magnetic capsule comes near it, the internal contacts close magnetically. This allows current to flow through that ladder step. Now let's talk about the resistor ladder itself. For every ladder step, I used a 10 kilo ohm resistor. These resistors create different voltage divisions depending on which read switch is active. So every switch position produces a unique analog voltage. Instead of using a separate digital input for every switch, I'm using analog voltage detection. This is much more efficient because multiple switches can be read using only 2 ADC pins on the ESP32. The circuit is divided into 2 separate ladders. The blue ladder contains the odd-numbered read switches, and the green ladder contains the even-numbered read switches. This dual ladder system improves detection resolution significantly. At the output of both ladders, I added 1 kilo ohm resistors before connecting to the ESP32 ADC pins. These resistors help stabilize the analog signal and protect the ADC input from sudden transitions or noise. The final outputs go directly to the ESP32 analog pins. GPIO32 reads one ladder. GPIO33 reads the second ladder. The ESP32 continuously samples these voltages and compares them against predefined reference values inside the firmware. Now that the custom water level sensor is complete, let's connect the entire smart monitoring system together. This is the complete wiring diagram of the project. Everything is controlled using a single ESP32 board. The entire system is powered using a 5-volt 2-amp power supply. The ESP32 receives power through the VIN pin. From there, power is distributed to all sensors and modules. Let's start with the OLED display. This is an I2C OLED display, which means we only need 2 communication wires. SDA is connected to GPIO21. SCL is connected to GPIO22. And of course, VCC goes to power, while GND goes to ground. Now, let's connect the TDS sensor module. The TDS probe connects directly to the TDS interface board. The analog output pin from the module goes to GPIO34 on the ESP32. GPIO34 is an input-only analog pin on the ESP32, which makes it perfect for sensor voltage reading. The TDS module also requires power and ground connections. Once powered, the module continuously outputs analog voltage based on water conductivity. Now, let's connect the DS18B20 waterproof temperature sensor. The data pin is connected to GPIO4. VCC goes to power, and GND goes to ground. Temperature is extremely important for TDS measurement. Because water conductivity changes with temperature, the ESP32 uses the DS18B20 sensor to compensate the TDS readings automatically. The button is connected to GPIO27. The button is configured using input pull-up inside the firmware. When pressed, the OLED display wakes up and shows live sensor readings. Now, let's connect the custom water level sensor. The 2 resistor ladders are connected to 2 analog inputs on the ESP32. The first ladder output goes to GPIO32. The second ladder output goes to GPIO33. The ESP32 continuously measures the analog voltage from both ladders. Depending on which read switches are activated by the magnetic float, the voltage changes. The firmware compares these voltages against predefined values to determine the exact water level. Now that our complete circuit is ready, let's move to the software side. For this project, I have already prepared the complete source code. You don't need to create the project manually. Everything is already available in the GitHub repository linked in the video description. First, install Visual Studio Code on your computer. Now open VS Code. Go to Extensions. Search for PlatformIO IDE. Install this extension. PlatformIO will convert VS Code into a complete ESP32 development environment. Now, open the GitHub link given in the video description. Click the green Code button. Then click Download Zip. After downloading, extract the zip file. Now go back to VS Code. Click File, then click Open Folder. Select the extracted GitHub project folder. Make sure you open the folder that contains the platformio.ini file. This is important because PlatformIO detects the project from platformio.ini. When the project opens for the first time, PlatformIO may take a few minutes. It will automatically download ESP32 toolchain, required libraries, build dependencies, project packages. So wait until PlatformIO finishes loading everything. Now, connect the ESP32 to your computer using a USB cable. Make sure the cable supports data transfer, not only charging. PlatformIO should detect the ESP32 COM port automatically. Now, click the Build button in PlatformIO. This step checks if the code compiles correctly. If everything is okay, you should see success in the terminal. Now we need to upload the web dashboard files into the ESP32 file system. Since this project uses LittleFS, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript dashboard files are stored inside the data folder. Sometimes PlatformIO does not show the file system upload button in the sidebar. So instead, we'll upload it directly using the terminal. In VS Code, open the terminal. Now type this command: pi-run-target uploadfs. This command builds the LittleFS image and uploads the complete data folder into ESP32 flash memory. This step is extremely important. Without uploading the file system, the ESP32 firmware may still run, but the web dashboard will not work because the HTML files are missing. Wait until the terminal shows success. Once the file system upload is complete, we can upload the main firmware. Now simply click the Upload button in PlatformIO, or you can also upload using terminal with this command: pi-run-target upload. This will compile and flash the ESP32 firmware. Our upload is complete. Let's open the serial monitor and check whether the ESP32 booted correctly. In PlatformIO, click the Monitor button, or you can open it directly from terminal using this command: pio device monitor. After opening the serial monitor, you should start seeing boot logs like these. This means the ESP32 started successfully. The access point is running. The LittleFS file system loaded correctly. The web server is active, and the dashboard is ready. Your mobile phone, tablet, or laptop, open Wi-Fi settings and connect to the ESP32 hotspot named TDS-sensor-setup. After connecting to the hotspot, open your browser. Now enter this address: 192.168.4/setup. This opens the ESP32 Wi-Fi setup page. Here, enter your home or office Wi-Fi name and password. Now click Save and Restart. The ESP32 will automatically reboot and connect to your Wi-Fi network. After restarting, the ESP32 will disconnect from setup mode and connect to your Wi-Fi router. You'll now see a new IP address inside the serial monitor and on the OLED display. Now open that IP address in your browser, and the complete Smart RO monitoring dashboard should open. You can also try opening tds.local on devices that support MDNS. Now that the ESP32 is connected to Wi-Fi and the dashboard is working, let's connect the entire system with Home Assistant for live monitoring and automations. First, open your Home Assistant web interface. Now, open your Home Assistant configuration.yaml file. You can open it using File Editor, Studio Code Server, Samba Share, or any method you normally use to edit Home Assistant files. Now, go to the GitHub repository linked in the video description. Open the file named haapi.txt. Copy the complete code from this file. Now, go back to Home Assistant and paste this code at the end of your configuration.yaml file. Now let's add the dashboard visualization. Go to your Home Assistant dashboard. Click Edit Dashboard. Now click Add Card. Select the Entities card. After that, click Show Code Editor. Now go back to the GitHub repository. Open the file named hacard.txt. Copy the complete card code copy. Now paste it inside the Home Assistant card code editor. Now click Save. And here we go. Our ESP32 TDS monitor is now successfully connected with Home Assistant. Now you can see the same live data in both dashboards. On the ESP32 web dashboard, we have real-time local monitoring. And inside Home Assistant, we have long-term history, beautiful cards, automation support, and mobile notifications. If you enjoyed this project, like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll keep sharing more ESP32, DIY electronics, 3D printing, and Home Assistant projects. Thanks for watching. See you in the next project.